mahasiswa baru lulusan SMA atau sederajat yang mendaftar di Universitas Kadiri. Dan jalur transfer. Jalur transfer untuk mahasiswa pindahan atau alih jenjang atau lintas jalur di semua angkatan. Universitas Kadiri juga memiliki beragam fasilitas seperti gedung olahraga Surya Kadiri yang digunakan para mahasiswa untuk kegiatan olahraga. Dalam Gor Surya Universitas Kadiri juga dilengkapi fasilitas olahraga seperti basket, futsal, bulu tangkis, tenis meja, dan fitness center. Musola. Perpustakaan yang dilengkapi dengan ratusan buku untuk referensi, sekaligus berbagai hasil penelitian mahasiswa Universitas Kadiri. Laboratorium komputer dengan berbagai alat yang memadai, dengan kapasitas 50 orang mahasiswa. Laboratorium bahasa yang dilengkapi dengan fasilitas full internet, dengan kapasitas 50 orang mahasiswa. Galeri investasi merupakan sarana untuk pembelajaran dan diskusi bersama tentang pasar modal. Laboratorium sipil dan laboratorium industri, greenhouse dan laboratorium pertanian, peradilan semu, laboratorium farmasi, ruang micro teaching, dan aula sebagai sarana kegiatan para mahasiswa. Universitas Kadiri juga memiliki beragam prestasi, antara lain klasterisasi perguruan tinggi urutan 48 pada klaster 4. SIM Katmawa peringkat 102 nasional. Universitas Kadiri juga memiliki beragam unit kegiatan mahasiswa atau UKM yang berprestasi. Antara lain, UKM Kerohanian Islam, juara 3 Tilawah Quran 2019. UKM Olahraga Futsal, juara 1 futsal antar mahasiswa se-Jawa Timur. Mahasiswa berprestasi nasional, juara 1 Pekan Olahraga Mahasiswa Nasional 2019. Mahasiswa berprestasi internasional, juara 1 Tenis Meja Internasional. UKM Seni Menyanyi, juara 2 nasional. Dan Galeri Investasi memperoleh prestasi, juara 1 Banking and Finance Festival. Mari bergabung bersama Universitas Kadiri untuk mewujudkan cita-cita Anda. Bingung kuliah di mana? Universitas Kadiri mempunyai 6 fakultas dan 21 program studi. Fakultas Hukum, program studi S1 Hukum dan S2 Hukum. Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, program studi S1 Administrasi Publik dan S2 Administrasi Publik. Fakultas Pertanian, program studi S1 Agroteknologi dan S1 Agribisnis. Fakultas Ekonomi, program studi S1 Ekonomi Pembangunan, S1 Manajemen, dan S2 Manajemen. Fakultas Teknik, program studi S1 Teknik Sipil dan S1 Teknik Industri. Fakultas Ilmu Kesehatan, program studi D3 Kebidanan, D4 Kebidanan, S1 Kebidanan, Pendidikan Profesi Bidan, S1 Keperawatan, Pendidikan Profesi Nurse, S1 Farmasi, D4 Teknik Laboratorium Medis, D3 Teknik Elektromedis, dan Pendidikan Profesi Apoteker. Info pendaftaran. Ketik link http://pendaftaran.undip-kediri.ac.id/. Tata cara pendaftaran. Setelah terbuka halaman awal pendaftaran, lalu pilih daftar atau daftar kesehatan untuk Fakultas Ilmu Kesehatan. Masukkan data diri Anda. Login dengan menggunakan NIK dan password yang Anda masukkan. Halaman dashboard setelah login, lalu bayar biaya pendaftaran menggunakan nomor virtual account yang didapatkan. Jika sudah, akan mendapatkan nomor pendaftaran dan bisa melakukan tes online pada tautan yang ada di dashboard. Jika dinyatakan diterima, kemudian upload dokumen yang dibutuhkan. Kemudian bayar tagihan registrasi dengan nomor virtual account yang diperoleh. Registrasi mahasiswa baru untuk mendapatkan NIK. Isi data diri dengan benar dan lengkap sesuai dengan isian yang diminta. Universitas Kadiri memiliki 4 jalur pendaftaran. Jalur prestasi untuk calon mahasiswa yang lulus pada 2 tahun terakhir atau bebas tes dengan mengunggah prestasi minimal di tingkat regional atau menggunakan nilai rata-rata rapot 8-10. Jalur KIPK. Jalur KIPK merupakan beasiswa untuk calon mahasiswa yang kurang mampu dan memiliki kemampuan akademik dan telah terdaftar di laman kip-kuliah.kemendikbud.go.id. Jalur reguler. Jalur reguler untuk semua calon mahasiswa baru lulusan SMA atau sederajat yang mendaftar di Universitas Kadiri. Dan jalur transfer. Jalur transfer untuk mahasiswa pindahan atau alih jenjang atau lintas jalur di semua angkatan. Universitas Kadiri juga memiliki beragam fasilitas seperti Gedung Olahraga Surya Kediri yang digunakan para mahasiswa untuk kegiatan olahraga. Dalam Gor Surya Universitas Kadiri juga dilengkapi fasilitas olahraga seperti basket, futsal, bulu tangkis, tenis meja, dan fitness center. Musola. Perpustakaan yang dilengkapi dengan ratusan buku untuk referensi, sekaligus berbagai hasil penelitian mahasiswa Universitas Kadiri. Laboratorium komputer dengan berbagai alat yang memadai, dengan kapasitas 50 orang mahasiswa. Laboratorium bahasa yang dilengkapi dengan fasilitas full internet, dengan kapasitas 50 orang mahasiswa. Galeri investasi merupakan sarana untuk pembelajaran dan diskusi bersama tentang pasar modal. Laboratorium sipil dan laboratorium industri, greenhouse dan laboratorium pertanian, peradilan semu, laboratorium farmasi, ruang micro teaching, dan aula sebagai sarana kegiatan para mahasiswa. Universitas Kadiri juga memiliki program prestasi, antara lain klasterisasi perguruan tinggi urutan 48 pada klaster 4, SIM Katmawa peringkat 102 nasional. Universitas Kadiri juga memiliki beragam unit kegiatan mahasiswa atau UKM yang berprestasi, antara lain UKM Kerohanian Islam, juara 3 Tilawah Quran 2019, UKM Olahraga Futsal, juara 1 futsal antar mahasiswa se-Jawa Timur. Mahasiswa berprestasi nasional, juara 1 Pekan Olahraga Mahasiswa Nasional 2019. Mahasiswa berprestasi internasional, juara 1 Tenis Meja Internasional. UKM Seni Menyanyi, juara 2 nasional. Dan Galeri Investasi memperoleh prestasi, juara 1 Banking and Finance Festival. Mari bergabung bersama Universitas Kadiri untuk mewujudkan cita-cita Anda.
Kadiri University is a private university located in Kadiri, East Java, Indonesia. It is located in the west of Kadiri, near with Rajamangala Cave and Airlangga Museum. The location is also near with Maskumambang Hills, makes the Kadiri University a comfortable place for studying and learning. Kadiri University has big contribution of Kadiri development. It's said by Sudanjo Supriyadi Wali Songo Kadiri Foundation since 1980. Kadiri University has passed many bachelor to fulfill the society needs in Kadiri especially and in Indonesia commonly. The graduates of Kadiri University have gotten a job in many cities and countries all over the world. Criteria combatant, superior, characterless to be able to combat internationally in 2026 is the vision of Kadiri University. It is also supported by all faculties in Kadiri University. Kadiri University has academic, profession, and vocational education, namely Law Faculty, Social and Politics Faculty, Agriculture Faculty, Economic Faculty, Engineering Faculty, Health Science Faculty. Using student-centered learning, Kadiri University supported by the good quality of lecturer to get a good cognitive, effective, and psychomotoric graduation to be able to compete in globalization era. Kadiri University has academic and non-academic facilities such as library, computer center, language center, ASEAN Studies Center, sports stadium, institution gallery, mini hospital, and job placement center to make the student easier to get the job.
Mari bergabung bersama kami di Universitas Kadiri.
Selamat datang di kampus Universitas Tulungagung. Universitas Tulungagung yang lazim disingkat dengan UNITA merupakan PTS atau perguruan tinggi swasta yang berdiri sejak tahun 1985. Keberadaan Universitas Tulungagung bernaung di bawah Yayasan Universitas Tulungagung. Kampus pusat Universitas Tulungagung berada di Jalan Ki Mangun Sarkoro Beji, Kabupaten Tulungagung. Tepatnya berada di Gapura Perbatasan Selatan, arah masuk kota Tulungagung. Untuk menuju ke lokasi kampus pusat Universitas Tulungagung dapat dengan mudah diakses dari wilayah-wilayah kabupaten sekitar Kabupaten Tulungagung, seperti Ponorogo, Trenggalek, Blitar, Kediri, dan Nganjuk. Penyelenggaraan kegiatan Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi Universitas Tulungagung di bawah pengawasan dan pembinaan dari Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan melalui Ditjen Dikti atau Direktorat Jenderal Pendidikan Dikti dalam lingkup koordinasi LL Dikti atau Lembaga Layanan Pendidikan Tinggi Wilayah 7 Jawa Timur. Dengan 4 fakultas yang ada, meliputi Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, Fakultas Hukum, Fakultas Ekonomi, Fakultas Pertanian dengan 7 program studi, serta berbagai sarana, prasarana, dan sumber daya, telah dimiliki Universitas Tulungagung dalam melaksanakan kegiatan Tridharma perguruan tinggi, sehingga secara institusi atau kelembagaan, keberadaannya telah mendapatkan akreditasi dari pemerintah melalui Badan Akreditasi Nasional Perguruan Tinggi atau M.Pd dengan predikat nilai B. Fakultas Ekonomi yang lazim disingkat dengan FE. Fakultas Ekonomi Universitas Tulungagung memiliki 2 program studi, yaitu program studi akuntansi berjenjang strata 1 atau S1 dan program studi manajemen berjenjang strata 1 atau S1 yang semuanya telah terakreditasi oleh M.Pd atau Badan Akreditasi Nasional Perguruan Tinggi dengan predikat nilai B.
Sudah? International webinar about socio-economic impact of COVID-19 for countries' tourism development held by Economics Faculty Kadiri University will begin. Please have a nice seat at your home, office, or wherever you are now. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning all. Honorable Dr. Shirzad Mansouri from Rajamangala University Technology, Thailand. Honorable Professor Elchin Gashimov, the Vice-rector of the Moscow City University, Russia. Mr. Yudiarto Perdana Putra, S.M.M, as an Assistant Professor from Economics Faculty Kadiri University, Indonesia. Dr. Nur Laili, S.M.M, the Dean of Economics Faculty Kadiri University, Indonesia, and all participants. Welcome to our international webinar entitled Socio-economic impact of COVID-19 for countries' tourism development held by Economics Faculty Kadiri University, Indonesia, with 3 honorable speakers from Russia, Iran, and Indonesia. Next, give our deep respect to Indonesian, Russia, and Thailand anthem. Thank you. Next, give our time. The next agenda is welcoming speech from the Dean of Economic Faculty, Honorable Dr. Nurlaili SAMM. The time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning all. It really give me much pleasure to welcome of all you, the participant of the international seminar with the topic of socio-economics impacts to COVID-19 for countries' tourism development that held by Economics Faculty of Kadiri University virtually. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, first of all, I would like to say my greatest honor to our talent speaker today, Dr. Shirzad Mansouri, Tourism and Hospitality from Rajamangala University of Technology, Thailand. Professor Elchin, Gashimov, the Vice-rector of the Moscow City University, Russia. And our dearest,
Recording in progress.
And our dearest lecturer from Kadiri University, Yudiarto, Perdana Putra, Magister of Management. I also to say my biggest grateful to Mrs. Pamadya Vitasmoro, the head of International Office, and our moderator today, S.Pd IUB Surakarta and Tulungagung University as the co-host of this international webinar. All of the committee of the seminar and all of these parties that have supported and prepared this international webinar, because with their best effort, we can get this occasion to share the knowledge that correlated with the theme of this webinar, which is socio-economics impacts of COVID-19 for countries' tourism development. Please enjoy seminar and get a lot of advantage. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dr. Laili SMM for your nice welcoming speech. Next, we come to our main agenda, the final presentation from Dr. Shirzad Mansouri. But first of all, I would like to introduce him first to the participant. Hello, Dr. Shirzad. Do you hear my voice?
Good morning.
Morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very clear, Doctor.
Okay.
Before you deliver your presentation, I would like to explain auto participant about you, introducing yourself to the participant.
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to join this international webinar. It's so let's say it's great honor to be among a group of participants and scholars, particularly my colleagues from different universities around the world. Sorry, can you turn off your microphone, please?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So, good morning from Bangkok. I have been living in Bangkok for more than 10 years. I am the professor of tourism and hospitality management at Rajamangala University. It's a government university in the heart of Bangkok. In fact, it is almost 3 years I have been working with this university. When I joined the university, the purpose of my collaboration and cooperation with this university was the creation of a kind of curriculum for this program and try to develop tourism program in this university. If you compare the universities in Bangkok, there are different types of universities in Thailand, and most of them focus on tourism program and tourism and hospitality. So what we did, we tried to create a kind of curriculum which is completely different from what was taught in other universities in Thailand, particularly in Bangkok. So we focus on halal tourism and Muslim tourism because we believe that in Thailand, as a non-Muslim country, there was a big gap for the tourism students, particularly those who are working with the Middle East guests and travelers. They need to know more about Muslim travelers and the untouched market of Middle East. So for this reason, we started working on the curriculum and by the focus, let's say, on how we can develop halal tourism in Thailand, and we also try to help the Islamic society in Bangkok to develop this kind of program in Thailand. Therefore, the idea for the research that I'm going to talk about today came from my, let's say, participation and my, let's say, collaboration with the university on how we can develop this kind of tourism in Bangkok, especially in Thailand and other areas, by training students to welcome Muslim travelers, particularly from Middle East and Indonesia and other countries around the world. So we decided to start the program, and a part of my research was focused on the minor Muslim groups in Thailand. So as you know, most Muslims in Thailand are the second Islam is the second religion after Buddhism. So the majority of the Muslims in this area are following the principles of Islam, and they try to contribute to Buddhist culture and also to Thai government. They have great share in economic development. They have different businesses in Thailand. So my focus was how these people develop their business and their work, particularly in tourism and hospitality. So as you know, the pandemic started in the last 2 years, and it created a kind of crisis and chaos in hospitality and tourism business. Most of the travelers were stopped. They were not given the permission to enter the country. So this was, I mean, the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic was completely obvious. And according to World Tourism Council in 2020, more than 50 million jobs disappeared because of this pandemic. So we started working, and we analyzed the hospitality companies, and we try to understand how these companies are challenging with the new situation that happened to them and how they are affected, and what kind of solutions these businesses and companies are trying to find in order to solve their problems. So the focus was on these, let's say, types of business, particularly the hospitality companies and firms. So we understood that the leadership competency existing in these companies actually is the major role, and we have to understand how these leaders try to lead their companies through such a big crisis that affected their business and their people. So can we go to the next slide, please? The solution that we found was very interesting. First, we understood that those businesses who could survive, and they are trying to do their best in order to go through such a big crisis, were those businesses or hospitality businesses that focus on their leadership competency and capacity. They proved that if these leaders are well equipped and knowledgeable, they will find the solution through their problems. So when we focus on their kind of activities, we understood that those successful businesses and companies are those that put significant emphasis on human resources development. So they showed that if they focus on human development, instead of firing them, instead of fighting with them, instead of cutting their budget, they can come to this understanding that if we support these people, the result will be amazing and they can survive through such a hard time here, especially in Bangkok. So we go to the next slide, please. If you study the background of economic plan in Thailand, the government of Thailand have a special national strategy to develop the country, and they confirmed this program, this strategy in 2018, and they believe that they need 20 years to follow in order to implement and use these strategies. The focus of this strategy was on sustainable national development of all programs, especially economic programs. They focus also on environmental protection, equitable development, and they try to increase the productivity of the companies, especially economic companies and businesses. And the other part that was great, let's say, was in fact they gave great emphasis was building human capital, which can run the business and economic companies and firms in Thailand. Unfortunately, COVID-19 popped up and they stopped all these developments. Government was successful at the beginning to control the pandemic. And as you can see, Thailand was almost successful because the rate of death was not increasing and they could control by bringing lots of restrictions on the inbound and outbound travelers, and they tried to control and they had very difficult rules and regulations in order to enter the country. In addition to these, hospitality industry was actually greatly affected. Although government did its best, the hospitality industry in Thailand, all the hotels and businesses related to hotel and hotel companies stopped and they could not fight back. Therefore, some leaders try to find solutions. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, prior to the crisis, what happened was the problem of, let's say, human development. In fact, before pandemic, Thailand had great challenges. Most of the laborers in Thailand are informal laborers. These people come without having the permission to work. The informal employees do not have adequate social security. So these were the challenges that Thai government was supposed to solve and tackle. The other problem was educational opportunity, which was not let's say, and expanded for all people working in Thailand. And this led to great negative impact on overall productivity of the countries. In fact, what was needed was a kind of systematic plan to reskill and upgrade the marginalized workers and those people who were neglected by the government and by the system. These problems were the challenges that government had. And now pandemic appeared, and COVID-19 pandemic created great problem for the government. If you look at pandemic and COVID-19, you will understand that this kind of disease is a human crisis. And if you want to solve human crisis, you have to limit your decisions on human and how businesses are made, let's say, in a way by leaders to help and plan for these people who are working in and during such big crisis that happened. Therefore, the focus of attention was human, and those companies who showed great success were those companies that focused on human development and on human life, and their decisions were concentrated on human development. Can we go to the next slide, please? So all the organizations, those who could survive, they had this idea that human development can be the solution to this problem. But some of these companies, there were some companies who ignored this. They put emphasis on immediate short-term interests. They wanted to have the benefit, try to survive. So what they tried to ignore, they forgot the long-term welfare which was given or were supposed to be given to the workers and human development in their companies. So as a result of this, human resource leaders have played a crucial role in global response to pandemic. The pandemic has been watershed moment for HR around the world. Pandemic affected people. Many people lost their jobs. Many people lost their lives. And many businesses came to stop. So that was the reason that I try to focus my study on kind of successful businesses that exist in Thailand. So I focus on Muslim-friendly hospitality business in Bangkok and the way they could face the pandemic and how human development and HR leadership could help them to survive. This was the main focus of my study and concentration during the pandemic. Can we go to the next slide, please? When we observed, we understood that the virus affected all parts of hospitality sector and industry in Thailand. Many hotel events were canceled. Different hotels came to stop their business. All the attraction centers were closed. And the immediate impact of all these incidents stopped the supply chain and supply chain trends in Bangkok and in Thailand. So catering and laundry facilities came to stop because hotels were closed. No guests were available in the room, so there was no need for these businesses. And imagine those people who were working in these areas were completely jobless and unemployed. According to the Journal of Hospitality and Marketing Management team, if even the normal condition comes back, it is not easy for people. At least 50% of the population who go to the restaurant and hotels will stop eating and sitting in the restaurants because of the fear of COVID, even in the new normal situation. So this shows that we are facing a great dilemma. The lack of balance between non-skilled workers or skilled workers and intellectual workers was another problem. Most of these people who lost their jobs, they did not have any special skill. They had certain skills in that area that they were working, but pandemic needs people who are intellectually wise in order to use technology, such as us. I mean, university teachers, university professors, those businessmen who could use technology, and they try to use technology as a servant to serve their purpose. So intellectual and labor people, the lack of balance between these two was the kind of problem that the HR leaders understood they have to solve. Most of the frontline hotel workers, receptionists, lost their jobs. Massage shops and people, as you know, Thailand is the land of massage, and Thai massage is very famous. Most of these people lost their jobs because their shops were closed, so they left their city and they left their job locations. I try to list some of the activities or strategies these leaders try to use in order to survive. Some of these leaders try to have some revenue generating tactics and programs. And they try to find new resources and revenue sources in order to find way to feed their human forces in their businesses in order to survive. For example, there was a term, workation, work in hotel room. This was one of the strategies that most of these hotel leaders use. They invited the people who were supposed to work from home, they invited them to their hotels and they told them you can work and have your vacation in the hotel. Another one was a staycation. A staycation was, again, those people who love to be far from the family chaos, and because kids are at home, people are at home, they need a place to be relaxed. So hotels try to open their doors to these people. Government tried to develop domestic travelers. They encourage people, Thai people, to travel. Those people who stay in Thailand. They try to encourage these people to travel more. Another strategy was food delivery. Some hotels, especially those with high class food reputation, they try to distribute food through different, let's say, application and distribution platforms like Foodpanda, Grab, and Lineman in Thailand. The other one that these hotels did was food for the heroes choice. They presented a package of food for the heroes, the doctors, nurses who were in the front line fighting the disease. These hotels try to provide food for these people and ask the people and the population, if you are interested to help these doctors, you can buy food for them. And hotels were ready to deliver and prepare this food to the hospitals and to the people who were in the front line fighting the disease. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, Muslim-friendly business in Thailand was one of these, let's say, branches that focus on these strategies. They try, Thailand is a famous destination for Muslims, but especially Muslims from Indonesia, from the Middle East. They come to Thailand, they want to enjoy the atmosphere, the food, the cuisine, and they also know that the safety for practicing the religion here is guaranteed. So halal applications were developed, halal book halal homes and halal trip were the applications that TAT, Thailand Authority Tourism, started to develop, and they created lots of platforms to help Muslim and Muslim travelers to find their ways to Thailand and enjoy. This was the beginning of the, let's say, halal tourism development in Thailand. And gradually, this business caught the attention of the people in the government, and they tried to develop it. But again, this area was affected by COVID. Let's go to the next slide, please. So, leadership was the concept which was necessary. If leaders can find solutions, people will trust them, workforce will trust them, and government will be happy to find solutions to the problems. So the leadership could provide a kind of training, particularly for the staff and workforce working in hotel, increase their skills and bring up their kind of expertise in order to participate more fighting back with COVID. They try to create this balance by planning the balance. They try to bring more reputation and bring more training and specialty for the staff. They understood that they need to use this opportunity if hotels are closed, but they cannot be closed. They can work and develop this. Informal recruiting practicing was started. They try to find the talents. In fact, they try to change their strategy, focusing on the people who are capable using the technology, and they will be used in different part of the hotel industry in order to recover some of the damages. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, as a professor in this field, we try to find solution to this, and we focus on the Muslim business, let's say hospitality companies, and we understood that these are less affected in comparison to other businesses. When I went through the interviewing and talking with these Muslim leaders, I understood that they are following certain strategy in order to save their businesses and their people. So the model that I used for my study was Dave Ulrich model for the HR role. As you know, this scholar in this major focused on the people and the resources. This is exactly what we needed in hospitality. We have to focus on people, and we have to focus on our income, resources, and what we have available in the hotel business. So according to this model, the leaders can adapt or can adopt and take different roles in order to develop their businesses. They can be a change agent by helping the people and employee champion. They can play the role of a strategic partner, and they will be administrative experts. If we go to the next slide, I can explain more about each part, and then I can tell you how I apply this model in my system. So during the COVID-19, most of these people expected to face the new change which was imposed upon them. So leaders try to reduce the effect of COVID. These people need to change the system, change the atmosphere, change the situation. So that is why the leaders in Muslim business industry, hotel industry, they try to play the role of a agent of change. Their followers, their workforce look at them as a kind of agent who will create this change. They try to rebuild the HR system. They try to rebuild the trust. They frame the issues, and they try to create and fulfill the action plans they had. Next slide, please. If you look at this framework, this was the framework that I applied, and I tried to apply the model which was introduced by Dave Ulrich. So on the left-hand side, you can see different roles that leaders can play, or the kind of competencies that leaders need. Change agents, they need to be employee champions, a strategic partner, and administrative experts. In addition to these, the employees will play different roles. Let me focus on the left-hand side, and then I will go to the middle part, and then I explain how this system could help the business to survive. So if the leaders play the roles on the left-hand side, then employees can play the role in the middle. Employees could have some skills, can feel the pain, and they will take action, then they will do something. So employees' responsibility was to have the skills or acquire the skills, to feel the sympathy and empathy with the leaders. That is why they can help the leaders to develop their plans, and then they have to act upon the responsibility which was given. So these are the three things that employees were expected to do, and this is what they did, in fact. So can we go to the next slide? So, change agent was the point. You know, according to these people, when I interviewed these people, I understood that most of them focus on Islamic principles. The term niyah or niyat was the kind of the perception that these Muslim leaders used. They said our intention is for the will of God, and we don't care about what happened and what the disease brings. It was the God will, and we have to accept it, and we have to adapt. We have to understand the situation. So the nia or the intention of these leaders were positive, and they try to be mindful of the presence of God. This was the way that they try to solve the problem as a change agent. In addition to this, these people, I mean these HR leaders, try to play the role of employee champion. They said that if you worship God, then your ibadah or your work and worshiping God will be given back by God. So whatever you do, whatever activities you will do for people and people for you is a kind of worshiping God. So this will not be without reward. So Islamic shukr or shukra was actually the gratitude and the kind of feeling that these leaders try to transfer to their members and to their followers. In addition to this, most of these business people, they try to understand that what they do should seek the pleasure of God, the pleasure of the creators. According to these Islamic principles, these leaders could lead their workforce through the crisis. The next slide, please. A strategic partner. Most of these leaders try to understand the fact that their workers are not the people that they have to say no and fire them and reject them. In fact, they believe that in a kind of mudaraba, or a kind of interaction and transaction that they do, the workers, their employees are a part of the business. And they try to ask the employees to participate and to join their ventures. They ask them, you are also the winner and you will have the benefit if you help us and you understand the situation and help the people and the managers. So that is why the employees and the leaders were both strategic partners in order to solve the problems. The fourth role that they played was administrative experts. By understanding the situation, most of these leaders try to put themselves first, not their employees. So if they try to fire someone, they ask themselves, am I doing the right thing? These leaders try to follow Prophet Muhammad, let's say, principle. They said taqwa or fearing of God does not let us to use our forces, our people, our human resources as a shield to protect ourselves. We have to protect them. In fact, they said that we are the commander, we are the leaders, and we have to be the shield to protect our workforces. This was the ideology behind the businesses they use, and this proved success because it could attract lots of trust on the side of their employees, on the side of their human resources. Can we go to the next slide, please? So according to this, these leaders provided certain roles for their employees. They asked their employees, in order to challenge the current situation, you need to have something. You need to have iman, or your belief. You have to have taqwa, fearing of God. Ihsan means to be forgiving and try to forgive and try to be giver at the time of crisis. And you have to understand that your faith in God will help you to go through the hardships. So according to these principles, these leaders adjusted and planned certain roles for their employees. They asked their employees what employees need to have. They said skills and abilities. So they started working on the skills and abilities of their workers and forces instead of firing them, instead of rejecting them. They asked them to join more activities. They asked them to be in their classes to learn and be trained more in order to get the skills, particularly with the technology. Secondly, they asked their employees how they feel. If employees trust their leaders, they will be motivated. They will be more committed to the people they trust, and they will be more engaged with the training, with the practices, and with the ideas that these leaders bring to them, because they trust them. They believe them that these are the people who will protect them against the negative impacts of COVID. The last thing that they wanted their employees do was their action. These employees should be committed and should act upon the roles and duties were given. They should attend the meetings, they should attend the training, they should control their behavior, and they should understand what task behavior are expected, what leaders need them to do, and then they should respect the customers with high quality in their behavior. If employees do this, they can attract the satisfaction and retention of the customers. As you know, satisfaction and retention of the customers means more money coming back to the business. The money coming back to the business will bring economic survival. So in this way, these businesses could accommodate their expenses, could create not that much eye-catching, but at least could create revenues for their businesses, and they can have certain benefits for the workers, and the workers understood the situation because they trust the leaders. This was what happened in such businesses in Thailand, and they showed great success in their businesses. So according to my understanding and my experience, I understood that what these leaders did and what they created for their employees, they asked their employees to have the required skills and ability. They asked their employees to be motivated, committed, and engaged. And they asked them to act upon what they were given. So they attended their training, they tried to follow and observe the task behavior requested, and they respect their customers. Based on these, they could add the quality to their business. And remember, the minor Muslims in Thailand have their own supporters. For example, during the Fitr Eid, after Ramadan, most of these Muslims went to their hotels, they tried to share their ihsan, and they tried to give to these people, and they tried to help those people who lost their jobs or did not have enough income. So such a kind of atmosphere was amazing. It helped these Muslims to survive and the businesses to run in order to get to that level that they can get to the new normal. So economic survival was happening, and they could survive, and they are surviving now. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope I do not disturb you that much. This is the whole story that happened to me. So thank you very much for your listening, and I hope I can help to understanding and report what we have been doing in Thailand in order to develop and help hospitality, especially in the face of COVID-19 crisis. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Shirzad, for your very nice presentation. And actually, you have many questions, sir, from the audience. I will read one by one, and you answer the question. The first question from the Vice-rector of Kadiri University, the first Vice-rector, asked about Mr. Adi asked about the solution of pandemic is doing by limiting the mobility and avoiding the crowded. But business of tourism must increase the mobility and must be crowded. How to synchronize both of them, and is it possible the tourism activity doing by virtual? This is the question from Mr. Adi.
Yeah, actually, as you know, what we have the experience here was most of the community of Muslims, they are not, as I said, they are minors. So most of these Muslims know each other. They are in close connection, and the leaders who were controlling the population in their businesses, they try to limit this. Let's say have certain rules and restrictions like normal government rules, and in addition, they have trust because they knew these people. They provided certain protection and regulations to follow, and this helped them. Though they had the restrictions, they could survive. They tried to follow the certain rules that medical experts advise. In addition, they try to remember that they are responsible for protection of others. And this was very interesting for me to understand that how these people are putting themselves last instead of first. So they put themselves last, it means everything was given to the employees instead of them. So by this, they try to recover or make up and compensate for some of the damages. There were damages, nobody denies that. But what they acted and what they showed as a leader was amazing. Okay? Any more? Sorry, I don't have your voice. I cannot hear you.
Okay, I repeat once again. Is the business strategy before pandemic can be used in the future? As we know that there are many changes that happen during pandemic. So the question is the strategy business can which done before pandemic can be done in the future? Because there are many changes during the pandemic.
Of course, you know, when we talk about pandemic, it was the worst type of kind of crisis that could happen, even during the history of human beings. As you can see, pandemic was called pandemic because it affected the whole world. So this shows that in the very small society in Bangkok and in Thailand, they try to use these strategies to protect their people. I think this needs more research. I'm asking my colleagues and my friends and the students who are involved. They try to use the same kind of a strategy and they try to use the similar type of a study in their countries in order to see if these strategies could be workable and practical. If it can be workable, I think, yes, we can use these strategies for future even.
Okay. So it can still be used, yeah, so yeah. Okay, next question, Doctor. The question from Mr. Angga, one of the lecturer of Kadiri University. What about the foreign tourists in Thailand? Is there Thailand government policy toward the foreign tourists? And what kind of policies in Thailand related with the foreign tourists?
You know, if you want to know about the Thailand policy against the, let's say, foreign tourists coming to Thailand, I have to tell you that Thailand has very special and very difficult restrictions upon people who are coming to Thailand. They have to pay at least 1,000 US dollar for 14 days quarantine in Bangkok. If you want to come to Thailand, you have to pay at least, that's the minimum. You have to pay 1,000 US dollars in order to get into the hotel and stay there for 14 days. Then there are also certain restrictions, you cannot travel. So that is why I think government is following this policy and this was working at the beginning. But as you know, it is very difficult to control the borders, especially borders with Myanmar, Cambodia, because there are certain peoples who try to escape these regulations and policies, and they bring the damage to the country. They bring the virus inside. So this was, as I heard, government has imposing great restrictions, but some people violate the rules. And I think if you want to know more about the Thailand policy, you have to refer to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or to the Embassy of Thailand in your country. They have certain policy and rules that the foreign tourists can obey and should have before they enter Thailand.
Okay, one more question, Dr. Shirzad. What do you think about the vaccine tourism? Do you think that vaccine tourism has a major impact on the interest of foreign tourists to visit?
Sorry, what kind of tourism?
What do you think about the vaccine tourism? Vaccine tourism. Do you think that the vaccine tourism has a major impact on the interest of the foreign tourists to visit?
Of course, I think as you know, tourism is a kind of industry that affected and was affected by many factors. And I think this is not an exception. There are certain, let's say, impacts, but it depends how we treat and how we see the impacts. We look at them as positive or negative. If they are negative, we try to reduce the negative effects. And if they are positive, we try to promote and teach those positive impacts and try to promote them in order to welcome more tourists into the country. This will be very helpful.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shirzad, for very satisfying answer from the audience. Okay, thank you, Dr. Shirzad, for your nice presentation and the answer for question. Now we turn to the second speaker.
Thank you very
He
much.
is Professor Elchin. Before I ask him to deliver the presentation, I would like to introduce him first to the audience. Okay, he is the Vice-rector. Professor Elchin is the Vice-rector of the Moscow City of University in Samara, and then the head of Samara Center of Education of this Municipal Department of Education. He has also about have 100 publications in the theory and method of teaching and foreign language, linguistics, and also discourse and philology. Her hobby is very great: swimming, cooking, and traveling. Okay, hello, Professor.
Good morning.
Morning, Professor Elchin. How are you today?
Yeah.
Is it still morning there, sir? Still two
Yes,
morning
it's
there?
early morning. Yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, it's no problem.
Oh.
And do you see my presentation?
Yeah,
Okay,
we
thank you
can
very
see your
much.
presentation. Okay, the time is here, Doctor, Professor.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for the possibility to take part in your seminar and introduce our view about how is big the socio-economic impact of United States regulation on the tourism sector in Russia and global, and about socio-economic impacts United States sanction in Russia tourism development. Really, integration process in the world community and socio-economic transformation at the turn of 21st centuries caused change in the development of international tourism at the state level, at the level of the individual. And in modern conditions, tourism is recognized as one of the most perspective and the priorities of the socio-economic development of foreigners of the Russian Federation. For example, our region, the Samara region, is situated in the center of Russia. Attractive tourist destination in the center of Russia practically is situated between Europe and Asia, where tourism is from the sphere of social activity, recreation, services, over the past decade has transformed into a dynamically development business, capable of becoming an accelerator of social and economic process in the region. The tourism industry generates substantial economic benefits to both countries, to host countries and tourist home countries. Especially in developing countries, one of the primary motivations for a region to promote itself as tourism destination is the expected economic improvement. As with other impacts, this massive economic development brings along both positive and negative consequences. By the way, tourism is not only a business that brings income, it's also communications, a dialogue of culture and intercultural relations. But we should understand that there are different types of tourism, and we must also take into account the negative factors affecting the development of tourism. The development of technology and transportation infrastructure, such as low-cost airlines and more accessible airports, have made tourism affordable and convenient. There have been changes in lifestyle. For example, now retired people sustain tourism around the year. The sale of tourism products on the internet, besides the aggressive marketing of the tour operators and travel agencies, has also contributed to the growth of tourism. Development of tourism in Russia is a process which is still low rated, but it's becoming the center of attention of our government. The share of tourist industry is still less than 4.5%. Russia takes only the 39th place in the rating of competitiveness of the tourist sector, according to data of World Tourism Organization. At the same time, the international experience shows very high profitability of tourism, comparable to the oil extracting sector. In recent years, many international sporting events took place in Russia. Olympic Games in Sochi 2014, the FIFA World Cup in 11 cities of Russia, including one city in 2018, and a lot of others less considerable. On November 16, 2020, it became known that our President Vladimir Putin supported a strategy for the development of travel in Russia, and Prime Minister instructed to create a working group. The plan is designed until 2030. It aims to build roads, make travel accessible, and reduce their cost. It is important that the national project was discussed together with tourism companies, public organizations. This is a strategy for the development of tourism until 2030. A lot of work remains to develop infrastructure, travel, accessibility, and the removal of excessive bureaucratic barriers. Tourism, after a very difficult year, begins to recover already within the framework of the national project. Despite the fact that the project is designed for the long term, we already know the first support measures. This is both a grant program and a cashback program for tourists. As part of the national project, a lot of funding will be allocated for the development and construction of new facilities in tourism. On September 5th, in 2019, the consulting company Strategy Partners announced that Russian Federation rose 4 points compared to the previous report on the competitiveness of countries in the field of travel and tourism. She took 39th place and her rating was 4.3 points. This is evidenced by the Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Report, realized by the World Economic Forum. The partners of the study were the Eurasian Institute of Competitiveness and Strategy Partners. The best Russian indicators that influenced the overall rating were health and hygiene, 6th place in the ranking, price competitiveness, 27th place, motor transport technologies, 23rd place, and culture, heritage, and business travel, 18th place. But respondents called visa difficult the worst condition for the development of tourism as a result, according to international openness. Among the weaknesses that hinder the development of tourism, one can distinguish barriers related to visa procedure for foreign tourists, as well as poor development and poor quality of basic tourist infrastructure in some regions, including hotels, the quality of tourist service, and transport infrastructure. Traditionally, economics countries were assessed by four indicators: favorable environment, policies and favorable opportunities for travel and tourism, infrastructure, natural and cultural resources. These sections consist of a total of 14 sub-items, each of which has its own rating score. In the countries of the post-Soviet space, the Russian Federation showed the largest growth for the first time in 2 years, being in the first place. According to the criterion natural and cultural resources, Russia took 34th place in terms of natural resources and 18th in terms of cultural resources. The high performance of the Russian Federation is noted in the section infrastructure. So in terms of the quality of tourist infrastructure, growth occurred by 47 position from 116th place to 69th. The best indicator in this area in the country in air transport is 23rd place, and one of the highest position in the world. Russia ranks 6th in the subsection health and hygiene. In the future, we can expect an improvement in Russia's position in the ranking. A potentially positive role can be played by the tourism development program being developed, including measures to reduce barriers to attracting foreign tourists and improving their accessibility and quality of tourism infrastructure. Also, in the development of tourism potential, the role of the regions and cities of the country that focus on the promotion and development of their tourist clusters is increasing. Tourism is growing branch of the economy in Russia. According to the World Tourism Organization, Russia occupies of the leading place in the world in the field of international tourism. In 2019, before the pandemic, about 28 million international tourists visited the country, practically the ninth place in the world. The rich cultural heritage, the natural diversity puts Russia on a prominent place in the world among countries with potential of tourism growth. There are more than 24 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the country. Different regions and ethnic groups have a wide variety of traditions. The main tourist routes in Russia include visit to Moscow and St. Petersburg, a resort establishment in the Krasnodar and Stavropol regions, the Kaliningrad regions, the ski resort of the Caucasus and Siberia, the Gold Ring of Russia, cruises along the Volga, cruise on the icebreaker to the National Park Russia Arctic, trips on the Trans-Siberian Railway, the Altai Mountains, Lake Baikal, traveling to the volcanoes of Kamchatka and Primorye. According to the Association of Tour Operators of Russia, the summer tourist season in the country was better than expected. The drop in tourist flow was only 30% against the project 50-70%. Krasnodar Krai had been visited by about 9 million tourists and the Kaliningrad about 2 million. In 2022, citizens of 52 countries including Germany, India, Italy, Spain, China, France, Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, will be able to visit Russia using a single electron visa issued online for tourists, business, humanitarian guest trips. No documents confirming the purpose of the trip required. About problems. Today, the most developed and used transport in Russia is rail transport. Traveling by car is not very convenient given the size of the country. The air communication between the regions is limited. You can fly from Moscow to a significant number of regional centers, but that's all. An important problem is the language barriers. The Russian language is based on Cyrillic, so reading or at least interpreting inscription and text made in Russia for most tourists is an extremely difficult task. Transliteration of signs and translation of text is not common in Russia, but the situation is gradually changing. In addition, very few people outside of Moscow and St. Petersburg can speak English. Also, almost all schools in Russia teach English. In some regions of Russia, locals speak Russian badly, actively using the language of the people living in this particular place. This is especially evident in rural areas, for example, the Caucasus Republic, the northern regions of Russia, but not in everywhere. The currency of the Russian Federation is the Russian ruble. It's almost impossible to use other country. The exception is passenger transport, which crosses the border, and some very few companies providing various tourist services and products in large tourist centers. Currency exchange in the province is somewhat more complicated than in Moscow and St. Petersburg, Samara, but almost always it's a feasible task, especially if you need to buy rubles. The service is provided in almost all banks. In the eyes of Western citizens, Russia for decades was and remains surrounded by legends and myths of the most fantastic kind. Until now, a certain part of Europeans associate our country with a standard set of beers, balalaika and Russian vodka. Of course, with such ideas, few will venture to go to the wilderness with harsh, aggressive inhabitants and in unfriendly climate. This is what can lead to a lack of information. The modern way of life of our compatriots, rich cultural traditions of the country, a lot of interesting places and sites that you can see, all this remains behind the scenes for the majority of those living outside the Russian borders. The problems of tourism can be solved only by overcoming the information blockade. The tourist flow to our country is pretty decreased under the influence of recent political events, in particular because of the introduction of all known sanctions. The disapproval of the foreign policy of our country led to a natural consequence, a refusal to support the Russian economy. In the West, continue to impose an artificial image of the aggressive country. Potential tourists are intimidated by the danger of traveling to a militarized state with complete lack of freedom of speech. A surprising fact, a lot of Western inhabitants seriously believe that under the effect of sanctions in Russia, food stalls are almost empty. Tourists are afraid to go 100 countries. What are they to eat there? Domestic tourism in Russia is expected to grow by 15-20% in 2021 on the previous year. This year there will be no lockdowns in Russia, so we expect a growth in the domestic tourism sector of 15-20% on the previous year, adding that most popular vaccination destinations in the country may regain the pre-coronavirus level. In general, it's too early to speak about complete revival of the sector. As for domestic tourism, we expect complete revival in 2022, and as for international tourism, the sector will revive not earlier than 2023 if things go well. The main thing is to begin gradual revival. For the Russian Federation, the American sanction policy has not weakened the tourism sector. Really, the number of employees of the American diplomatic sector was decreased. The insurance of visas has been stopped, and citizens of Russian Federation, if they need to obtain an American visa, must go to other countries to get them. But not a lot of people wishing to visit the United States as tourists and prefer Europe. We still have a more attractive type of tourism for Russian citizens. Trips to the sea, prefer go to Turkey, Egypt, Thailand, Greece, Italy, Spain, the Arab Emirates, Bali, Indonesia, and a number of other countries, and in most of which visas are not needed. The tourism sector was most affected by the COVID, and 2020 was the most difficult year for the tourism sector. Also, the government has made it possible for tourism companies to reduce tax payments. It has made it possible to reorient themselves to the domestic market. Now the roads to Turkey, Egypt, and other countries have been reopened. In conclusion, I would say that work in the tourism sector had to be revealed not because of the sanction policy of a particular state, since sanctions have a great impact on trade, exports, and imports of food or strategic raw materials, namely. The pandemic was a break of the development of this sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Sudah. Thank you, Professor Elchin, for your very nice presentation. And then we have many questions, Prof. I will read one by one. The first question is from the head of the founder of Kadiri University, Mr. Heru Marwanto. He said about the culture and tourism, we know as a symbiotic relationship like art and craft, dance, ritual, and also etc. How to make the community or young generation can increase the commitment and create the opportunity in tourism and making the culture for tourism.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Repeat once again. Yes, the question from Mr. Heru Marwanto, the founder of Kadiri University. The question is, the culture and tourism, we know, have a symbiotic relationship like the art and craft, dance, ritual, etc. And then how to make the community can increase the commitment and create the opportunity in tourism and making the culture for tourism.
Okay. About tourism in our country.
Pardon, sir?
About tourism in our country, because
yes, but maybe for the developing country is for the countries as general, the country in general.
Just a moment.
Yeah.
Some problems. I have some problems with voice because I couldn't hear some words. Just a moment, sorry. The problem with now yes, now it's okay. My computer. Sorry again. Sorry again. Yes. About could you again, please? Sorry, because I have some the problem the voice of the voice and the problem with the computer. Could you again, please repeat the question? Yes. Sorry.
Okay. I repeat once again. The question is the culture and tourism we now have a symbiotic relationship like the art and craft, dance, ritual, and legend. And how to make the young generation or community can increase the commitment and create the opportunity in tourism and making the culture for tourism. Maybe what should we do to make the young generation or community can increase the commitment or increase about the tourism, legend tourism.
Okay, yes. In 2020, in my speech, I said about the problems in 2020 year when you have a lot of problems with the pandemic, and now in our country we have some many laws and directives were adopted as a part in this sector. And of course, there is a lot of talk about directives. They are all available on the official website of the Russian government, but we must be patient a little. And of course, there's a lot of information you can see in the sites of our government.
Okay, sir. Next question. Thank you, sir. Next question from Maria, the lecturer of Economic Faculty. The question is how to reduce the negative effect of tourism development in Russia, especially the problem of rising the price. Is this the sorry, I repeat once again. The question: how to reduce the negative effect of tourism development in Russia, especially the problem of rising prices.
The sanction policy does not affect the development of tourism sector, and we understand that tourism is connected with many industries, including transport, economic, and sea transport, and a number of the areas. And I will say that sections have allowed us to restructure of domestic economic policy and to use internal resources. But the pandemic and the beginning caused a shock, but we also understand that before the pandemic we talked a lot of about the digitalization of the society, about the Industrial Revolution 4.0, but it was 2020 that completely rebuilt everything. And look at how the development of digitalization went through the challenges of time. These are online conferences, these are online projects, and this helps us in our further development, and even returning to the questions of how to fracture our economical policy. We suggest looking for and finding partners for the development of joint projects.
Oh yeah, looking the partner, sir. Yeah. Okay, Professor Elchin. Next more questions, sir, from Mr. Junaidi, the head of management, Magister Management from Kadiri University. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the sanction policies in the United States and the European Union have an impact of small industry and local industry that are depend on the tourism industry in Russia, and how the policy taken by the government of our policy to solve this problem.
I think that I begin to answer for the second part of the question. I have already spoken about this today. Over the years 2020, 2021, many laws and directives were adopted to support small and medium-sized businesses. While we understand that many have led the market, competition has become stronger. Unfortunately, prices have also increased. There is, I said that we have a lot of directives, and last weekend, our president, Vladimir Putin, recommended the position of Russia Federation how to do, how recognize the structure of the support small and medium size. And I would like to say again, because a lot of laws, a lot of directives, we can use, or if you, for example, would like to look in our official website in English, for example, the website of the president, the website of the prime minister, where, for example, you can see this directive. And about the first part of your questions, of course, I would like again to say that we absolutely independent from the United States policy. And for us now, the problem, of course, in the COVID pandemic, but not sanctioned political. And of course, I would like to say the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and in 2020 rebuilt everything. And of course, taking part in this conference, it helps me, for example, to find a new colleagues, to find a new organization. And I hope that, for example, this online aspect help to support us. And of course, the online project will help us to find, for example, to solve the problem. Solving the problem, and maybe in the future, or not future, nowadays we should continue our meeting, we should continue our discussing about the problem, and all together we can find a lot of answers for a lot of questions.
Okay, so this strategy also can be used for the medium business, sir. The same, yeah? The same strategy, I think. Okay, one more question, sir, from Satin, the student of Kadiri University from Economic Faculty. How is the condition of Russian tourism during COVID-19? And what is the solution, the problem which might appear in tourism during COVID-19? So it is more specific, the tourism in Russian. How is the condition of Russian tourism during COVID-19, and how to solve the problem which might appear in tourism during COVID-19?
I would like to say again that about 2019, why we have now a good story about this tourism, because in 2018 we did a lot of work in the tourist sector, because in 2018 our country was the country where we organized the FIFA World Cup, and our government gives a lot of money to reconstruction of building, reconstruction of roads, and we showed our country from the west and east. If you know that Russia is not only a very big country, yes, we have uh, practically is very interesting because a lot of cultures and a lot of religions. For example, if the center of Russia is a Muslim center, for example, if you go to the western country, is practically European countries and others. But in again in 2019, really a lot of people, 29 million people, foreign people was there. And we of course had a shock in 2020 because pandemic into in our development, and but I think we try to do for this aspect, and the main I unfortunately I can't say about Russia's because I introduced my region, the Samara region, and I don't know if you know or no, but practically all regions has own politics in economics, for example, in tourism sector. Yes. So, for example, if we say about the Samara region, the center of Russia, of course, we try to do a lot of interesting things for the development of this tourist sector. Unfortunately, I can't say now what is what what will be, for example, in 1 or 2 years. But but in Russia now we open our roads, and a lot of people now in Russia visited, for example, Turkey, visit Egypt, and we try to open our roads for citizens, foreign citizens too. I hope sometimes it's difficult to answer some questions because we don't know what will happen, for example, the future. But we believe that will be very wonderful.
Okay, thank you, Prof. One more question, Professor Elchin. There are many questions for you because many participants want to visit Russia, maybe. Listen with me. The question from Firman Valenta. The question is, as we know that Russia is developing country while Indonesia is also developing country. And then the question, how to optimize tourism for developing countries like Indonesia and Russia? How to develop the tourism for developing countries?
Yes, it's very interesting question because for us, Indonesia is a very friendly country. And of course, unfortunately, this year and the last year, Indonesia was closed for us, but we hope to develop the development in our cooperation, not only the sectors in tourist sectors and other sectors, but for example, when I was in Indonesia in 2018, and when I took part in the conference in Vinisma Malanga, really I opened Indonesia. Why I opened? Because for us, we imagine Indonesia as Bali. I have never been to Bali, and unfortunately I can't say about this region. But for example, but Surabaya, but Malanga, by Batu, and other cities are really very wonderful. And if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 months ago, our minister, the members of the Russian government, Lavrov, was in Indonesia, and they discussed about a more and more cooperation between our countries, not only in tourist sector and the other sectors too. And I remember the visit Indonesian delegation to our region, and we signed a lot of MOU between universities and between departments of political departments in your region and our region too. And I hope that it will okay between us. Thank you very much for your question.
Presenting and answering many questions about Russia. And the last speaker from Kadiri University, Mr. Yudiarto Perdana Putra SAMM. But before I give the time to him, let me introduce him first.
Okay, yes, Mr. Vita.
Okay. Mr. Yudiarto Perdana Putra is the one of the assistant professor of Kadiri University in Economic Faculty. He has bachelor degree in Brawijaya University Malang in 2009, also master degree in Airlangga University Surabaya in 2014, and now still ongoing on PhD program in Brawijaya University. And then his experience of work is being a research officer at January 2010 until March 2013, and also as the landing officer in 2013 until 2014, and being the lecturer of the university since 2014 until now. He has also some publishing the paper. You can check by Sinta account, or also Google Scholar account, and also Scopus ID account of Mr. Yudiarto Perdana Putra. Okay, it is excellence about Mr. Yudiarto. Now the time for him to deliver the presentation. Hello, Mr. Diar.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Ms. Vita.
Okay, the time is here for delivering the presentation.
Yeah, thank you. My voice is clear?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Okay, nice to meet you. For Professor Elchin from Moscow City University. This is 6 a.m. is early morning. We start this event. So nice to meet you too, to Mr. Shirzad Mansouri from Rajamangala University of Technology, Thailand. We have same time zone, so we don't have a different time. Okay, I hope we are all in good and health. Thank you for Dean Economic Faculty, Kadiri University, for trusting me to be a speaker in this event, and for the steering committee, thank you for having me. It's my honor to be able to meet a join in this event. Hopefully, this event can bring a benefit to all. Okay, can share my presentation. Miss Vita.
Now?
Can share my presentation? My
okay,
PowerPoint?
yeah, okay. Yeah, you can say by yourself, Mr. Diar.
Oh, okay.
Or you want to ask me to share the computer?
Oh, the computer.
Okay, the computer. Okay, please share this, the PPT of Mr. Diar. Di grup ada. Bentar, tak kirim lagi. Yeah.
Or I share by myself?
Okay, we have ready. We will share.
Okay.
Wait for a moment.
Yeah. Okay, during the presentation, for the materials in this event, according to the theme, socio-economic impact of the COVID-19 for the development of states tourism. I will take the title next. Next slide. Okay. The title is Sport event are one of the solutions to increase tourism after the pandemic. Yeah, in a pandemic condition, of course, we must fight, don't give up, and must have hope in the future. So we can contribute idea or solution to improve the bad impact of the pandemic, especially the economy in the tourism sector. Okay, next, my presentation, please. Miss Vita.
Wait. Next slide. Trouble here, Mr. Dear. Perhaps you can share by yourself, dear.
Okay, yeah. Yes.
Bakal mula kaya. Okay, you can continue your presentation.
Okay. Wait a minute. Yeah, I'm continuing my presentation. This is the income of the tourism sector in Indonesia. This data is described position in 2014 and 2018. From this data, in 4 years, this is a tourism contribution to GDP of 4.20%, and in 2018, 8%. Miss Vita, my voice is clear or feedback?
Pardon? Continue, yeah, you can continue your presentation.
Okay. Number 2 is domestic tourist visit in 250 million people in 2014 and 275 million people in 2018. And foreign exchange earning, or we call devisa in Indonesia, in 2014, Indonesian get 120 trillion rupiah or 8 billion US dollar. In 2018, Indonesian get 240 trillion rupiah or 16 billion US dollar. The source is from BPS. In Indonesia we call Badan Pusat Statistik, the statistic center in Indonesian Republic. So we can get in 4 years, the revenue growth is about 2 times. So in predicted 4 years next, in 2022, the growth could be higher. But what happened now? The pandemic is coming, so the plan is broken, so like that. Okay. Yeah, a little early story about the case COVID in Indonesia. Indonesia is first confirmed in early March 2020. Since then, this pandemic has quickly spread to all regions in Indonesia. The spread of COVID-19 has had a major impact not only on economic activity and the transportation sector, but also the tourism industry. The total number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Indonesia, July 2021, now, it's about 3 million people. But Alhamdulillah, 2.3 million is held. The existence of this pandemic has caused a significant decrease in the number of tourists, both local and foreign. This is caused the tourism industry to suffer considerable loss due to the closure of access for foreign tourists and the policy of closing the tourist attraction itself. The policy of closing tourist attraction is carried out to minimize the presence of new cluster of the spread of the COVID-19. Okay, in PowerPoint, we can see the graphic growth in the number of foreign tourists visit Indonesia. This number is in thousand. In 2018, growth to 2019, growth in 2020 in January. But in February, March, April, May, June until now, so the stuff very low, very decrease. Yeah. This data record lose the tourism sector. This data source from Central Bureau Statistic. Okay. Yeah, the pandemic certainly has impact both of term of health and certainly has a negative impact of the economy. This is a data record of the losses is tourism sector. We can see the foreign exchange potential loss is 58 trillion rupiah or 4 billion US dollar. To 2000 hotel potential loss is about 30 trillion rupiah or 2.1 billion US dollar. 8,000 food and beverage stand potential loss is about 40 trillion rupiah or 2.7 billion US dollar. Ireland potential loss is about 11 trillion rupiah or 812 million US dollar. Tourism agent potential loss is about 4 trillion rupiah or 275 million US dollar. This illustration of this picture is from Tempo magazine. So this is the data of the losses in the tourism sector in Indonesia. Okay, I think it's enough to describe the bad effect of the COVID pandemic in the tourism sector. What needs to be considered in the condition when the critical period of the COVID pandemic is gone? What solution can be given? Okay, of course, many experts have explained several solutions, but here I want to offer one of solution to improve the tourism sector again through sport event tourism. In this picture, in this my slide, this is a structure of tourism in Indonesia. In here is described many types regarding many types tourism in Indonesia. Ya, jadi portofolio produk pariwisata di Indonesia. Okay, we have nature, culture, and man-made. Yeah, nature. We have marine. Indonesia have far sea, the island, and we have ecotourism and adventure tourism. It's a part of nature. In the culture, we have heritage and pilgrim. Many have city in Indonesia have kota lama, the old city. Yeah, so many have culture in there. Next, the culinary and shopping tourism. Yeah, city and village tourism. And man-made, we can call niche and event tourism. We have sport tourism and integrated area tourism. Maybe in Indonesia, we famous with Jatim Park, like something like that. It's man-made. Okay, why do I give advice to make a sport event? Because it will involve to other types of tourism categories. For example, For a cycling event, you must travel to enjoy the beauty of the nature, mountain, sea, etc. In terms of culture, participants can also see the regional culture, how local wisdom exists, or even different in their country. Yeah, this is a social and business phenomenon. Why I have idea about even sport tourism. The first is the pandemic has made everyone more concerned about their health, but from the food, what we eat, what we drink, and their activity, like sport, more sport. So the condition of the people who are increasingly concerned with a healthy lifestyle, with an exercise lifestyle. Indonesia have a phenomenon. In 2020, bike is very famous. Everyone buy bike to exercise itself. Okay. Second, the development increase the number of sport tourism event in various regions with various sponsor. Every event organized by many sponsors who are willing to support. Support from the government, but regional and central, by entering the national tourism calendar. Yeah, we have in Banyuwangi, in Jogja, in Surabaya, have a calendar about event. The high public interest in participating in sport tourism event. Okay, this the example sport event tourism. We have marathon event, cycling event. Yes, marathon in Bali, in Bromo Mountain. This is the example. In here we can see the many sponsor support this event from the private corporate or from the government. Okay, this is because the participant is not cheap, but making the income from the event is also big. We can recommend it, the supporting event, to be a one solution because it's had a lot of impact. Every participant in general usually bring his family, which will have impact in hotel occupancy. Then not only stay during the event, but overstay while on vacation, doing shopping, culinary in local area, visit the spot tourist area, etc. This is the cost if we want to take participation in this event. The example is Grand Fondo New York in Bali. The name is Grand Fondo New York, but the location in Bali. In 2019 and 18, the participant is 1,300. The registration fee is about $160 US. Yeah, Bromocom Challenge. This is a cycling event from Surabaya to Bromo Mountain. The participant is 1,148. The registration fee is about 850,000 rupiah until 2.5 million. Yeah, this is not cheap to be a participant in a sport event. Yeah, this is must be hobbies, must be loving this sport. This is Tour de Prambanan and My Bank Bali. Yeah, this is a registration fee. Yeah, side effect of the economy impact. Data from Kompas Research and Development newspaper in 2018 The survey state the total expenditure of the Borobudur Marathon event participant is was 17 billion rupiah in the 2017. Increase in 2018, the increase is 72%, or the nominal is 29.25 billion rupiah. This is the enthusiasm of the hobbies sport in Indonesia is very high. The survey result also state 53% of 200 MSME or we call UMKM in Indonesia entrepreneur experience increased income during the event. So usually the committee is make join with event with MSME in area event. Okay, I think that's enough for my material in the conference. If there are any error in data collection or inappropriate statement, please correct if and we can discuss it. Then I will return to moderator. Thank you, Ms. Vita.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Diar, for a very interesting topic, related with the sport, because I know you that you like sport so much, especially in cycling, during pandemic era. Okay, Mr. Diar, there are many questions from the audience. I will read one by one. There are about 4 questions. Okay, number 1, the question from the student of Kadiri University. What do you think about wealthy Indonesian heading the abroad for vaccine tourism?
Yeah, okay. Some time ago, we hear in the news or social media, the some upper class Indonesian went abroad to vaccinate. So they go to America, Europe to vaccinate. Because vaccine condition in America or in Europe, for example, is America already abandoned and already. Maybe we can see the YouTube from Asrul Ananda in M.Pd. He was vaccinated in America. They do vaccine. They're not in this main purpose. He go to America. Asrul and his friend, he was having a bicycle event, but then he walked to Walmart. There is a free vaccine facility. Just only show your passport. So Mr. Asrulananda try to vaccine in America. It's very easy. So this is maybe why the go to abroad to vaccinate. Okay, Miss Vita.
Okay, next question, Mr. Diar. There's a question from the audience also. Do you think that the opening of gym or fitness center is also become the social and business phenomenon during this pandemic era?
Yeah, the gym. Okay. Yeah, the quarantine era. Don't just use it to lie down to or relax on your bed long a day, but we also need to do sport, exercise, move your body. But I think we can exercise at home. Yeah, many example in Instagram or in YouTube. We can try to do it in home, or we can exercise in the open air area. And I think the gym can also open it with the condition of health protocol they are strict. But the reason why the gym is closed, I think it's about usually gym is in the closed room, so the air is closed area.
Yeah, indoor.
Yeah, indoor. So the area is only in the indoor, not can open the air. I think like this.
Okay. Okay, next question, Mr. Dear. Still two more questions from the audience. That's from Sulawesi, Muhammadiyah University from Sulawesi. What do you think about Indonesian government policy related with the tourism in COVID-19?
Maybe we ever had explanation from the tourism minister, Mr. Wisnutama, and now Mr. Sandiaga Uno. There have been quite a few submission, several podcasts in YouTube. They explain how the government policy. Some of them have prepared the several health protocol. Then also use several influencer to continue to promote. Now its condition is pandemic, but the promote is still government is still doing it because promotion in tourism cannot be instant. Maybe example is like instant noodle advertisement. We see the video, we hungry, we buy now. But in the tourism takes a long time. Miss Vita look video promotion in Bali, but cannot. Tomorrow I go to Bali. Miss Vita can like that. Maybe is waiting a holiday, waiting have a plan about the tourism. But so the promote the continue. But after all, the tourism condition are really down. The pandemic condition. Hopefully, the pandemic will pass soon, and tourism will return to normal. Okay, Miss Vita.
Definitely. Hopefully next year we still we can be free from COVID-19 and we can go everywhere for increasing the tourism income also. Okay, Mr. Dian, still one more question from Mr. Heru Marwanto, the lecturer of Magister Management in Kadiri University. The question is related with the sport event. We know that before pandemic, people are very interested with the sport event. For example, in PON Indonesia in Papua has been prepared since 2014. And what do you think it can be success in October 2021 for the event? It is related with the condition right now. Is it? What do you think? Is it will be success or not in your opinion?
I think I don't have a definite answer. The Professor Elchin says this condition is very volatile, fluctuative, so we can plan about the success of the event. But now in Japan, ongoing is the Olympic event. They can be example how to do the sport event for PON Papua, Indonesia. But I believe the PON Papua activities, government have been well prepared in all aspects. I ever read one of the requirement for the athlete is to be full vaccinated. So inshallah it can go well, success, and the PON Papua can be a momentum for collective awakening to recover of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially for Indonesia.
The best possibility, Indonesia and other countries free from COVID-19. Okay, I think enough, jadi, Mr. Diar, for your nice presentation, and then it's very nice about sport event. Before we close the presentation, this seminar, allow me to read the conclusion from this seminar, that the tourism is among the largest industry in the world, and many people assume that the human engage in leisure travel from the earliest time. And tourism has many positive and impact for economic, social, culture, and also for environmental. But during this pandemic era, the tourism also good bad impact, and it makes many changes in the social and business phenomenon, such as in Indonesia. The condition of people who increasing concern with the healthy lifestyle, with the exercise lifestyle, the development or increase the number of sport tourism, even the tourism region with the foreign sponsor. The support from the government, both the regional and central, by entering the national tourism calendar and also the high public interest of participating in sport tourism event. Actually, this phenomenon also has a good impact economically, namely experience and increase of income during this event. Some effort also must be done to increase the tourism sector in this pandemic, such as the hospitality business involving leadership and capacities and also human resource development. The leadership can be done by training the frontline employees are well trained to provide excellent service and then planning the balance. And also in general, the travel and hospitality sector have the bad reputation for poor working conditions and policies and low pay and social hours and shift work, inadequate or non-existent job environment and insufficient opportunities for advancement. And informal recruiting practice or high employees turnover are all issues. So it can be concluded that in many countries has done many effort to make the tourism sector in the world is survive in pandemic era, and every country has many policy to make it survive in the pandemic era. I think enough for this conclusion. Okay, once again I say thank you for the honorable speaker, Mr. Shirzad, Mr. Yudiarto, and also Professor Elchin for your nice presenting today, and also dear all participants, thank you for your coming today. And before we close our webinar, please turn on your camera and we make a beautiful session, namely the session of take a picture for documentation. So please give your best smile and we can take a picture together, yeah, with the help from Mr. Seno. Okay, are you ready all? Okay, I will count until 3 and then please screenshot our good picture. Okay, enough. Okay, please turn on the camera all. Okay, sudah. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Once more. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, enough. Next, one more. 1, 2, 3, go. Yes. Okay, dear all honorable speakers, thank you for your coming today. Dear co-host Universitas Tulungagung and CAUB Surakarta, thank you for your participation. And then dear all participants from Kadiri University, Mr. Heru Marwanto, Mr. Aryadi, Punur, Pak Jun, etc. Thank you for your coming today. Have a nice day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and bye-bye. See you.
Thank you.
Stay safe there.
See you, Mr. Elchin, Mr. Maham.
Thank you.
Vậy sao abu-abu oleh?
Kadiri University is a private university located in Kadiri, East Java, Indonesia. It is located in the west of Kadiri, near with Selamanglang Cave and Airlangga Museum. The location is also near with Maskumambang Hills, makes the Kadiri University be a comfortable place for studying and learning. Kadiri University has big contribution of Kadiri development. It's said by Sudancho Supriyadi Wali Songo Kadiri Foundation since 1980. Kadiri University has passed many bachelor to fulfill the society needed in Kadiri especially and in Indonesia commonly. The graduates of Kadiri University have gotten a job in many cities and countries all over the world. Kriteria competent, superior, characterless to be able to compete internationally in 2026 is the vision of Kadiri University. It is also supported by all faculties in Kadiri University. Kadiri University has academic, profession, and vocational education, namely Law Faculty, Social and Politics Faculty, Agriculture Faculty, Economic Faculty, Engineering Faculty, Health Science Faculty. Using student-centered learning, Kadiri University is supported by the good quality of lecturer to get a good cognitive, effective, and psychomotoric graduation to be able to compete in globalization era. Kadiri University has academic and non-academic facilities such as library, computer center, language center, ASEAN Studies Center, sports stadium, institution gallery, mini hospital, and job placement center to make the student easier to get the job.
Mari bergabung bersama kami di Universitas Kadiri.
Selamat datang di kampus Universitas Tulungagung. Universitas Tulungagung yang lazim disingkat dengan UNITA merupakan PTS atau perguruan tinggi swasta yang berdiri sejak tahun 1985. Keberadaan Universitas Tulungagung bernaung di bawah Yayasan Universitas Tulungagung. Kampus pusat Universitas Tulungagung berada di Jalan Ki Mangun Sarkoro Beji, Kabupaten Tulungagung. Tepatnya berada di Gapura Perbatasan Selatan, arah masuk kota Tulungagung. Untuk menuju ke lokasi kampus pusat Universitas Tulungagung dapat dengan mudah diakses dari wilayah-wilayah kabupaten sekitar Kabupaten Tulungagung, seperti Ponorogo, Trenggalek, Blitar, Kediri, dan Nganjuk. Penyelenggaraan kegiatan Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi Universitas Tulungagung di bawah pengawasan dan pembinaan dari Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan melalui Ditjen Dikti atau Direktorat Jenderal Pendidikan Dikti dalam lingkup koordinasi LL Dikti atau Lembaga Layanan Pendidikan Tinggi Wilayah 7 Jawa Timur. Dengan 4 fakultas yang ada, meliputi Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, Fakultas Hukum, Fakultas Ekonomi, Fakultas Pertanian dengan 7 program studi, serta berbagai sarana, prasarana, dan sumber daya telah dimiliki Universitas Tulungagung dalam melaksanakan kegiatan Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi, sehingga secara institusi atau kelembagaan, keberadaannya telah mendapatkan akreditasi dari pemerintah melalui Badan Akreditasi Nasional Perguruan Tinggi atau M.Pd dengan predikat nilai B. Fakultas Ekonomi yang lazim disingkat dengan FE. Fakultas Ekonomi Universitas Tulungagung memiliki 2 program studi, yaitu program studi akuntansi berjenjang strata 1 atau S1 dan program studi manajemen berjenjang strata 1 atau S1 yang semuanya telah terakreditasi oleh M.Pd atau Badan Akreditasi Nasional Perguruan Tinggi dengan predikat nilai B.
Bingung kuliah di mana? Universitas Kadiri mempunyai 6 fakultas dan 21 program studi. Fakultas Hukum, program studi S1 Hukum dan S2 Hukum. Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, program studi S1 Administrasi Publik dan S2 Administrasi Publik. Fakultas Pertanian, program studi S1 Agroteknologi dan S1 Agribisnis. Fakultas Ekonomi, program studi S1 Ekonomi Pembangunan, S1 Manajemen, dan S2 Manajemen. Fakultas Teknik, program studi S1 Teknik Sipil dan S1 Teknik Industri. Fakultas Ilmu Kesehatan, program studi D3 Kebidanan, D4 Kebidanan, S1 Kebidanan, Pendidikan Profesi Bidan, S1 Keperawatan, Pendidikan Profesi Nurse, S1 Farmasi, D4 Teknik Laboratorium Medis, D3 Teknik Elektromedis, dan Pendidikan Profesi Apoteker. Info pendaftaran. Ketik link http://pendaftaran.undip-kediri.ac.id/. Tata cara pendaftaran. Setelah terbuka halaman awal pendaftaran, lalu pilih daftar atau daftar kesehatan untuk Fakultas Ilmu Kesehatan. Masukkan data diri Anda. Login dengan menggunakan NIK dan password yang Anda masukkan. Halaman dashboard setelah login, lalu bayar biaya pendaftaran menggunakan nomor virtual account yang didapatkan. Jika sudah, akan mendapatkan nomor pendaftaran dan bisa melakukan tes online pada tautan yang ada di dashboard. Jika dinyatakan diterima, kemudian upload dokumen yang dibutuhkan. Kemudian bayar tagihan registrasi dengan nomor virtual account yang diperoleh. Registrasi mahasiswa baru untuk mendapatkan NIK. Isi data diri dengan benar dan lengkap sesuai dengan isian yang diminta. Universitas Kadiri memiliki 4 jalur pendaftaran. Jalur prestasi untuk calon mahasiswa yang lulus pada 2 tahun terakhir atau bebas tes dengan mengunggah prestasi minimal di tingkat regional atau menggunakan nilai rata-rata rapot 8-10. Jalur KIPK. Jalur KIPK merupakan beasiswa untuk calon mahasiswa yang kurang mampu dan memiliki kemampuan akademik dan telah terdaftar di laman kip-kuliah.kemendikbud.go.id. Jalur reguler. Jalur reguler untuk semua calon mahasiswa baru lulusan SMA atau sederajat yang mendaftar di Universitas Kadiri. Dan jalur transfer. Jalur transfer untuk mahasiswa pindahan atau alih jenjang atau lintas jalur di semua angkatan. Universitas Kadiri juga memiliki beragam fasilitas seperti gedung olahraga Surya Kediri yang digunakan para mahasiswa untuk kegiatan olahraga. Dalam Gor Surya Universitas Kadiri juga dilengkapi fasilitas olahraga seperti basket, futsal, bulu tangkis, tenis meja, dan fitness center. Musola. Perpustakaan yang dilengkapi dengan ratusan buku untuk referensi, sekaligus berbagai hasil penelitian mahasiswa Universitas Kadiri. Laboratorium komputer dengan berbagai alat yang memadai dengan kapasitas 50 orang mahasiswa. Laboratorium bahasa yang dilengkapi dengan fasilitas full internet dengan kapasitas 50 orang mahasiswa. Galeri investasi merupakan sarana untuk pembelajaran dan diskusi bersama tentang pasar modal. Laboratorium sipil dan laboratorium industri, greenhouse dan laboratorium pertanian, peradilan semu, laboratorium farmasi, ruang micro teaching, dan aula sebagai sarana kegiatan para mahasiswa. Universitas Kadiri juga memiliki beragam prestasi, antara lain klasterisasi perguruan tinggi urutan 48 pada klaster 4, SIM Katmawal peringkat 102 nasional. Universitas Kadiri juga memiliki beragam unit kegiatan mahasiswa atau UKM yang berprestasi, antara lain UKM Kerohanian Islam, juara 3 Tilawah Quran 2019, UKM Olahraga Futsal, juara 1 futsal antar mahasiswa se-Jawa Timur. Mahasiswa berprestasi nasional, juara 1 Pekan Olahraga Mahasiswa Nasional 2019. Mahasiswa berprestasi internasional, juara 1 Tenis Meja Internasional. UKM Seni Menyanyi, juara 2 nasional. Dan Galeri Investasi memperoleh prestasi, juara 1 Banking and Finance Festival. Mari bergabung bersama Universitas Kadiri untuk mewujudkan cita-cita Anda.